I wanted to clarify a couple of things when I talked about working with other people. I did make a few friends, but I won't mention any names of those who I think were true friends or the fake ones. I'll just say not all the people I knew at that job don't greet me with open arms, even though they do with other people. For some of you, you have to accept that not everybody is going to like you, no matter what you do. And you will meet people who decide they don't they don't like you just because you exist. That's just the way life is for certain people. It's an intolerant world, sad to say. But yeah, there are people who greet me with open arms and are able to say kind words to me. With the power of the internet and having worked with many talented people, very talented people, I realized at an early age that I'm not the best artist in the world. Before the internet was available, as far as I knew, I thought I was untouchable. I never met anyone outside of my dirty little hometown who can sculpt better than me. If you have that kind of mentality, you'll stop growing and stop learning, and nobody will want to work with you. It's a very rude awakening to find out you're not the best when thinking you always were. Whenever I make something, I do the best I can, and at the end of the day, I hope I get paid. That's the best you can hope for, and it's more important than your pride. I don't want recognition. I don't want fame. I don't want to win any awards. I just want to be able to make a living doing what I love. I still haven't quite made it there yet, but I'm still hoping. Jealousy. I've experienced it from myself and within myself and from others towards me. I'm not going to lie. I get jealous of other people who are more talented than me. Nobody is immune to that feeling, and if they say they aren't, then they're freaking liars. For me, it's not hard to point out acts of jealousy. Well, it's hard to point out acts of jealousy. Other artists might be reluctant to work with you or prefer not to be in your presence or act condescending towards you. I've experienced all of it when I was at SJSU in one of my ceramic sculpture classes. I was starting to prove myself, my developed technical skills early on, and the faculty was pretty impressed. I had this one assignment. The assignment was to sculpt something from real life, then sculpt it again in a different way. I decided to sculpt a new house, then sculpt the same house, but trashed and old. It was simple, but a bit hard to do with ceramic clay. All I needed was a slab roller and some basic geometry, and it was done. One of the professors from the beginning art classes had me show it off to his students before it was ready to be fired. I was just an undergrad surrounded by MFA and BFA students. I don't think Well, I don't think some of them liked me very much. When it came time for the critique, I was kind of excited about it because I thought I nailed it. It's surprising to me how overly critical other students were towards me, towards my work, no matter what I did. It was that way even in my figure modeling classes. This critique was different because MFA students and other students were invited to it. My fellow students talked about their work, and the guests were neutral or mildly critical, but when it came to my work, holy crap, 2 students tore me a new one. One of them said my work wasn't art, and that it was craft. Their expressions and tone were actually filled with anger and disgust. I was totally beside myself. I was so blindsided that I had the hardest time trying to find words to reply to it. All I could irk out was that was the assignment. I followed the instructions. What else could I say? It was obvious their behavior was fueled by jealousy. And I was so pissed, I dwelled on it for several weeks. After I was able to calm down and clear my head a bit, I was able to remember I always felt I didn't belong there. And what was the point trying to please these people? Any criticism, even constructive, was going to help me. I mentioned in my previous video, I wasn't happy with my educational choices. When people are faced with adversity from others, they can either be upset and hurt, or they can own it. It's like if someone calls you a bitch, you can be like, yeah, I'm the queen bitch. You're just mad because you can't tame me or keep up with me. So I was trying to look at their malicious intentions and turn it into, yes, they're right. I'm not the same type of artist as them. I almost wanted to thank them because they kind of helped me understand the kind of artist I wanted to be, but I won't because they're still angry butthurt hacks and were very, very mean to me. I guess I experienced some jealousy at work when I was a working artist. I've worked with very talented people, and I prefer to take criticism from those who I look up to as skilled professionals to a certain extent. I don't tolerate uncalled for criticism. I was criticized about my work ethic and my abilities from a former coworker shortly after I was fired. I was fired for bullshit, petty reasons, not because I was too slow. This former coworker worked at the same speed as I did, even though I had more experience with more materials and was the only one who knew how to use digital sculpting programs. Yet this person was allowed to keep their job. But and I wasn't, but whatever. Just because this person was able to keep their job, this person felt it was appropriate to give me some advice right after I was fired. It was a comment from a post I made on Facebook. Yeah, I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was boo-hooing over the whole thing. I got mad, and I told this person off. At times like those, I think to myself, geez, I really miss City College art department in the late 90s. Those were the good times. People were so cool back then. There was no ego, no competition. I just felt so free. So I just didn't want to ignore or leave out anybody that I considered good friends. But it seems like the higher you get, the more people want to tear you down. I guess you just have to figure out a way to overcome those obstacles. But, yeah, I decided to reduce the thickness of the legs quite a bit. I noticed that Orihime's legs are very thin. She has very, very thin calves. And I wanted to define her kneecaps. So, just reshaping her legs right now, and I use the X-Acto blade to draw where I want to cut. Sometimes I use my fingers, my thumb, to create negative space, negative shapes. I'm kind of happy with the texture I got on the knees. And then I put a piece of clay on my thumbnail. I was looking at some miniature sculpting tutorials recently from a YouTuber named Tom Mason. He's posted a nice series of miniature sculpting tutorials, and there's other people who posted sculpting tutorials, and they when they're working on small detail, they put a little piece of material on their thumbnail. I was like, that's very, very convenient. Instead of just flattening out a piece on top of my work surface, it's just on my thumbnail. It's easier to access it. When I was reducing the bottom parts of the legs, I was noticing that some of the armature wire was being exposed. I'm going to have to go back and fix it. I don't know, I might have to slice into the back of the legs and do some major surgery. earlier I was working on the head, I noticed that even after I put on the lighter fluid, it did smooth, it did soften up the surface, but it didn't, like, it didn't even out the surface. Like, some of it was, like, really, like, in the eyes, there was some, the surface was pretty uneven. The lighter fluids did soften it, but anyway, I had to go back and I figured that using sandpaper, and then I should, when I use lighter fluid, I should sand the surface first. File it, sand it, and then maybe do heated sanding with the lamp and the sanding sponge. I'm not sure what sequence to. Maybe the sanding sponge first, and then the file, and then the sandpaper. Maybe in that order. But all that should be done before I use the lighter fluid. I was able to get better results at using wet sanding. That's what I did. I did wet sanding. And I didn't mention before, when I use the lighter fluid on the face, I was thinking that I should use the paper towel right after I use the lighter fluid, but I think that only works with the hard 6.5. It doesn't work too well with the soft, or maybe I'm not using the right paper towel, because I noticed that when I was trying to use the paper towel, little fibers was coming off the paper towel, and it was like embedding into the wax. So it was doing that when I was wiping off the face after I had wet sanded it. It didn't seem to be an issue before, but I guess I'm not going to use the paper towel. But it's turning out a bit better. I did notice earlier when I was looking at my videos, I scrolled on one of my videos. I scrolled down and I noticed that the comments, it said that the comments are not available. I looked at I thought it was just because I accidentally did something, with the settings on my new recently posted videos, but then I looked at my older videos, and the first video that I posted, and in my video manager, it shows that there's two comments that were made, but when I scroll down, I know it says the same thing. So I don't know what happened. Maybe YouTube is doing some maintenance. That's what I read somewhere. I was a little concerned about that. Hopefully it gets resolved by tomorrow. I don't know if anybody else notices it. Like, I looked at other people's videos. I clicked on random videos, and their comments are all accessible, but mine aren't. To me, I don't know what it looks like to other people. If comments are available to you, if you happen to be watching my videos, let me know if you can see them. Well, it's coming close to the end of the video, and I ran out of things to say, so